got chicken, ducks, and roosters on the farm. I'm just speeding backwards, snoozing the alarm. Johnny ate the grass, he's mooing on the bong. Gypsy blisters never sing for long. I hope I'm not wrong, I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, I hope I'm not wrong.
We're just on a couch chatting.
I think the last one I've had like these, and then the last one I did was like the teeny tiny microphone.
Oh, that you hold?
And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I am.
Yeah.
Is this good? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't.
I
hear
love those
myself.
too. They're kind of cute.
They're so cute, but I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna sound good.
I
if
know.
it's too close, if it's too far.
And it's like, I feel like it's slightly ASMR-y. You know what I mean?
yeah,
like, it
I'm
makes the whole podcast sound like this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was super sick. So yeah, we are episode 6 or 7 now. I can't even fucking remember, even though there's not that many.
Have you always wanted to do this, or is this like a comedy induced?
This is definitely something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to have a podcast that wasn't just comedy. I don't want to just, like, I didn't ever want to just have comedians, just this. Oh,
I was gonna sneeze. I lost it. Sorry.
I thought you were having a stroke for a second. Don't scare me.
I'm almost 42, Selena, but we're gonna talk about this on the pod.
I thought you were about to have like a menopause aneurysm or something. Something crazy. But yeah, this is definitely something I've always wanted to do. My branding and my name and all that stuff I've had picked out for over a year now.
Cool.
And I never felt like I was in the mental place to do it yet. And I wasn't ready to like put time and effort into it.
Yeah.
So once like the comedy thing obviously started to take off, I was like, you know, I definitely want to do this, and I want to have a podcast that talks about real shit and mental health and comedy and relationships and depression and family and all these things that we all go through and deal with, and have people from all walks of life, all ages, all everything. So I think that that's kind of my dream, is to just sit down with really cool people that have a cool story that, you know, I admire as a person, that I think are worth listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So on that note,
I'm a big fan of you.
we're bringing in our beautiful, wonderful, amazing guest, Jess Torres, everybody.
Oh my god.
Is that the last name you have now? Is it Torres or is it the other one?
No, that's
Torres is your last name.
Torres is my last name.
Okay,
yes.
correct. Post-divorce last name we love.
Yes, my birth name.
Your
my
birth
government
name. Yeah, because I remember it used to be a different name, which who cares about that?
So legally it still is.
Oh, okay, it's expensive.
It's expensive, but like these are my priorities in life. So I'm torn. Like the same price of it is like the same as a Dyson Airwrap, and I'm like,
yeah.
But I think my ex-husband is making that decision for me because he is engaged.
Oh.
And I don't have any interest in sharing the last with another woman. Like I don't want to be like in a harem or like any sort of like sister wife.
Yeah, I think honestly though, with like TikTok Shop, you can find an Airwrap dupe and also like fit it in the budget.
I am obsessed with TikTok Shop.
They have a dupe for everything. They've had, like, there's an abortion dupe. Like, there's literally Plan B dupes on TikTok Shop, I swear.
The only thing I've gotten on TikTok Shop that I'm like, didn't love it was the shaver, like for your cooch, that they were
the stripper, the one that the stripper posted.
Yeah, I was like, no, that stripper lied.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Their ads are also so crazy. Like, I've seen like a dummy with like panties and like a wig underneath the panties with like ketchup over it, and then using this like little razor, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a way to sell it, I guess.
So but the turmeric thing, love, like the pad, the yellow, love,
yes. What about the collagen, like,
okay, so
the
I just ordered
mask?
That. Okay,
okay.
I just ordered that and the zombie mask.
Okay, I've seen both.
So I just ordered both. Next week they shall be here, and we shall do a tutorial.
Yeah, I've seen the collagen mask everywhere. As an esthetician, I don't know if I can morally do that, because I need to read the ingredients.
So, this is so hokey. So I saw an esthetician who used it.
Oh, really?
Yes,
okay.
and that was the only reason I bought both.
So she reviewed it and like said it was good.
He.
Oh, he.
Yes.
Love.
He reviewed it,
We love a
and
gay
then
guy.
he did like I don't know if this is real or not. You tell me as an esthetician. The like moisture meter or something. It's like a like.
Oh, like the molecular weight of it? Okay, yeah.
Yes. So he like did before and after. Like,
okay.
With the beep beep beeps. And like,
so he has one of those like detectors.
Yes.
See, that's what I think is bullshit.
Is it? That's what I want to know. So I'm like, okay. So anyway.
That's what I don't believe, because there's no way you have a handheld device that lets you detect the molecular weight of something. You know what I mean? Like, that's only something that like a scientist or a lab would be able to determine. In my opinion, like what I would assume. If there's a machine for that, I'm way behind.
As a grown woman, I spent $40, and if it's a waste of $40, I wasted $40. But if it's great, it's
fine.
great. But as your almost 42-year-old friend, I will let you know if it works.
Yes, please let me know. Please let me know, because I need to look like you in my 40s. I will be pissed if I don't. You're like literally perfect.
Oh, thank you. I think we're good. I think genetics. I think.
Yeah. Latin women tend to age a lot better than the whites.
I think it's the starch. Like,
yeah,
we just eat
I think so
of
too.
starch.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like regardless of what people say, I genuinely think it's the anger and the temper is what keeps us young.
Oh, I could also see that.
Yeah,
100%.
It's like we're constantly like on edge and just want to yell,
and ruminating. Yes,
ruminating.
I saw something recently that was, it was like, oh, like if you, because obviously I work out regularly, but it was like if you work out.
She said, obviously I work out regularly. She said, do you see me?
obviously I need to maintain. Obviously I'm a single mom. Obviously, I can't relax.
Right.
It's not like, this is 5 years ago where I was like, I'm married and I can just,
Yeah, relax.
I can be chill about it.
Yeah.
No, like I have to be like now aggressive, because like you're back on the market. It's like having a car and then trading it in, and now I'm a certified pre-owned. But it's like,
right.
I have to get detail.
You need a full wax and detail.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
You know what I mean? They gotta maintain so you can be resold.
Yeah. Are you on the apps? Are you on the dating apps?
I'm not.
Okay.
And I refuse. I think I'm never doing that again. I don't.
Yeah, I was on dating apps like in my younger years briefly, and I met someone on there that completely ruined my life and was like, I'm just never going to do that again. So now I just get with coworkers is what I do now.
So the first 2 men I dated after my divorce were people I was set up with like via Instagram DM. Like,
okay.
Basically we had mutuals and not like super close friends, acquaintances, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's how I met those 2 gentlemen.
Okay. That's cute though.
Yeah, so I was like, this is how it's going to be. And then I realized my acquaintances are not good friends.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't have strong judge of character and or they have more allegiance to that person. Like, so it's like, oh.
Yeah.
You failed to mention this part.
Yeah.
But he's so great. Like, all the other things. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so then I went on the apps. And man, all the Gen Z things, like Sabrina Carpenter, Slim Pickens, like, it's just like have you seen Ali Wong's new special on Netflix?
No, I need to watch it.
Okay, you need to immediately. It's basically...
because I didn't even know she got a divorce. I saw in the little trailer and was like, I'm in my golden year, or she's like, you know what the perfect age is to get a divorce? like that funny thing.
I love her. No. I loved her before this, but I knew I was going to love this special, but I watched it specifically because I was like, I need to know all the jokes I can't write.
Right.
Because we're in such similar seasons.
Yeah.
And there's plenty because she's a millionaire.
Yeah.
So it's like she was on the apps, and like she doesn't say which app, but it's obviously Raya, and I was on Raya, and it was like...
You got on Raya? Mm-hmm. Are you famous enough for Raya?
I mean, I got on it.
Really? I thought you had to be famous to get on Raya.
You do not have to be famous to get on Raya, but I was indeed on the wait list for 1 year.
Wow, she's dedicated. She's dedicated to meeting a rich, famous man.
Listen, and I had forgotten about it. Like, it was like, and then it was like, congratulations. Like, I was like, oh shit, I forgot I did that. But you
just matched with Leonardo DiCaprio.
You do have to pay. Like, there's...
Oh, so you have to pay to have an account.
Yes. So once you get in, and then you...
They're like, hey, you owe us $500.
Here's the money. To get on there. And then the other weird thing about Raya that I didn't figure out, and I think maybe because I didn't have the highest paywall or whatever, is you can't... At the level I paid, you can't filter. So my filter for men was the world.
What?
So I'd be like, oh my gosh, this guy's so cute. Like, oh, he's in Croatia?
Oh, so you can't do it based off a location?
No.
What? That makes no sense.
It was just like men who fit my like check boxes on Earth.
I mean, Croatia's beautiful.
And I was just like, So then I started getting Delulu, which I'm typically not, but I'm like, you never know. Like, we have an international airport.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll meet some rich guy who's coming to Florida for the weekend.
Right.
You know, he wants to fly me out. And that is when I was humbled and realized I am not pretty enough to get free shit.
That's completely false.
Well, then I don't know where these men are, because I'm like, oh, naturally I'll get on Raya.
Yeah.
And match
with Hugh Jackman.
One of the most the only celebrity I got was like one of the most C-list people. Oh my god.
Were they like a rapper or a singer?
No, they are the father of someone famous.
Oh, like someone really famous?
There was a time where they were famous. Now they're kind of... So it's sisters. So it's a father and he has 2 daughters.
Oh, okay.
Both daughters are famous.
Okay.
And
so it's Rob Kardashian.
Basically, no. So there was a time where these 2 young ladies became famous together on YouTube.
Okay.
And then they stayed famous together. And then the older one kind of took off.
Oh, okay.
And now the older one is kind of like stepped back. And now the younger one's the more...
Oh, Charli D'Amelio. The D'Amelio family.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know how deep you are into like YouTube culture. There was a time where I was like really into it.
I mean, I got into
As
like
a soap opera.
Yeah, I got into like the beauty influencer kind of drama type of deal.
I got into like when everybody was dating and being weird. So I got into it with Miranda Sings.
Oh boy, I literally used to love Miranda Sings.
I used to be obsessed with her.
She has this one video where she's like underneath the Christmas tree, remember? And she was like secretly opening the Christmas presents and it was like a fucking chia pet or something so funny. I literally used to watch that video on repeat and I used to die laughing.
I was obsessed with her. And then she did Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Yes.
And I was just like, I'm obsessed with her. And then I found out,
the ukulele song.
I was like, oh, she's Ariana Grande's voice teacher. Like, it was like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, that's so weird. And so then I started going to the rabbit hole with that. So she was married to a YouTuber.
Yes.
They had a whole thing. Then they had a tumultuous divorce. And then, like, you know, he almost unalived himself. And it was just like this whole thing. And
it's creepy.
They were friends with these people. And it was just kind of like, you'd click and then be like, oh, who's in this video? Oh, Joey Graceffa. And you'd be like, I don't even know who that is, but I'm going to watch him. Like, you know what I mean? And then it'd be like 6 hours later, and I'm like, my brain spent the day in LA.
Yeah.
Through YouTube. Like, and I was like, this is too much. But I think I was just really unhappy with my life.
No, seriously. I really like was infatuated with the beauty community, like the makeup and you know, Nikki tutorials and like
Patrick Star.
Yeah, Patrick Star. We literally love Jeffree Star. I was watching James Charles, Tati, like all of them. I was obsessed. Jaclyn Hill, like literally obsessed. I was so into it and was like, I'm gonna be just like them. And then I made my own YouTube with my own makeup tutorials.
No,
I've privated all of them. Don't try me. But I'm like, the channel that you're watching this podcast on is my old YouTube channel that I use for all my makeup videos. But I used to like to do a sunset eye look with me and like the stupid background and like so cringy. But yeah, that's kind of what like got me into YouTube. But yeah, Raya's crazy. Dating apps are crazy. Dating is just psychopathic.
So when I got on Raya, I was like, okay, I'll try the apps again.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that great of luck like the first.
Do you like Hinge? I feel like most people will have a good thing
Hinge,
with Hinge.
and I have a joke about Hinge. But so when I got back on Raya, I was like, we're just gonna go full spectrum app.
Oh.
So from top to bottom.
From autism to Down syndrome, we're going
from Raya to Facebook dating.
Facebook dating is crazy. I'm sorry, Facebook dating is crazy.
But not for people my age, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, really?
I actually enjoyed that one.
Oh.
And I didn't do it like the first go around on the apps, but I did it like on the last go around of the apps. It was like Raya, Hinge, Bumble. This is my order. Raya, Hinge, Bumble, Facebook dating.
I love that Tinder's not even on the list. Thank God.
No, I've never even seen a Tinder.
Yeah.
No.
We don't do Tinder.
No, we don't. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We're adults.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a child.
Yeah. Oh Lord. I mean, if you want another, download Tinder.
No, I'm good. Do I want another one and not have a father as well? No, I'm all set. Like,
right.
So Facebook dating, I did. This is why I liked it, and this is when you can like notice my age. My favorite part about Facebook dating is that it's like 6 degrees of separation.
Oh.
So if you had any mutuals or friends of friends, it would tell you.
Oh, so it's almost like you could vet them.
Yes, before. And so if it was like Mark sent me a heart and it said, our mutual friend is Selena.
You could be like,
Selena, who the fuck's Mark?
And I'd be like, bitch, I have over 2,000 people on Facebook. I don't know who the fuck that is.
Yeah, you can either know him or be like, I think he dated my cousin's sister like 2 years ago. And I'd be like,
yeah.
Oh, so you don't know anything about him. And then he'd be like, but then if it was somebody like, oh yeah, he's a nice person or he has a good job or whatever, then it was like, okay.
It's like that second layer of like, this is worth exploring.
Number two, if you had any mutuals, you could see their profile. And on Facebook dating, you cannot, like, if it was John and I don't have any mutuals, I could just look at his profile on Facebook dating, but I can't see his actual page.
But if you do have mutuals, then you can pull up his page.
Yeah, so it was like, oh.
As if y'all are friends, like even if he has private on?
You can see anything he's posted publicly. Oh. So it's like, oh, okay, me and Mark are both friends with Selena. And then I could be like, oh, okay, because it just shows first names, just like any other app.
Yeah.
So then it's the same picture, though. The same picture on the profile, the main icon picture is the same as their actual Facebook.
Okay.
So I'd be like, oh, Selena's friends with Mark. And then I'd be like, go to Selena, Mark. And then all the Marks come up and I'd be like, boop.
Gotcha.
So I do all like the background checks first. So then I do that, see his name, put it into the background check. Does this man have any sort of criminal record? All the things. And then I would reply to his heart.
Okay. I mean, we love a very thorough queen. All right, Mr. Zuck. I see what you're doing on Facebook dating.
That's why I like that one.
Yeah. No, that actually makes sense because because I've never changed my profile, like my status, which I am in a relationship. I feel like a piece of shit for this, but I haven't changed my relationship status.
Why not?
I don't have one. Mine doesn't say single. It just doesn't say anything.
Oh yeah, I deleted mine from saying anything.
Yeah, so I don't have one, but I think because I don't have one, Facebook's always like, hey, you should try dating. And so I always get the thing and I just like, please quit showing me this. And, but yeah, that actually makes sense. Like why Facebook would be better because it's like that second layer of like, okay, who might know this person? What does their profile look like?
Yeah. So
now you search up the criminal record. What draws the line? Like if they have like a petty theft from like 10 years ago, is that it for you? Or are you willing to look past that?
Yeah. I mean, I look for things like domestic violence.
Of course. Like if they started a fire 2 years ago.
No, I don't care about that.
Okay. So arson is in.
Arson's fine.
Yeah, arson's fine.
Depending where the arson was. In the state of
Domestic
Florida,
violence by strangulation maybe is where
it's out. But in the state of Florida, you can access criminal records. So if it's like arson, you can see where.
Yep, and what happened.
Yeah, it's like what happened. So like if you like burn down your ex-girlfriend's house, then it's a no.
Okay, all right.
But
But like arson as a whole isn't a no.
Yeah, arson.
Yeah, it depends.
Like if it's like, I was scared and I burned these documents and then my whole house went on fire.
I burned these documents. It's
then
crazy.
Maybe. Yeah, people on.
I got an eviction notice, so I burnt it along with the whole apartment.
Oh, I invested in Bitcoin and it was wrong. Like I don't know, like anything like that. Yeah. What else is a no? If you're like on a sexual offenders list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's an absolute no.
For at any age, I don't care. I don't care when you were put on it. How many years ago?
Yeah, because you're on it for life, baby.
Yeah, it's like, you can't be around me or my child, so no.
Right.
And then I'm trying to think. And then consecutive DUIs in adulthood.
Yeah, DUIs is one of those things where it's like, I'm obviously not ever going to think somebody's a piece of shit because they got a DUI when they were 21, 22.
Correct. I understand.
It happens. People make mistakes, even in your late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people make mistakes. Mm-hmm. But, like, yeah, if you have more than one DUI, honestly, at any age, like, because if you've gotten one, that's a fuck up. We understand people make mistakes. There are people in their 30s and 40s that get DUIs that,
Justin Timberlake.
Exactly, we love. But it was an accident. He was a mistake, but if you like that didn't scare you enough and you got another DUI, then like to me that's like, come on now.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like I don't have as much room to talk because I've been arrested multiple times, so it's like I can't never for a DUI, but I can't.
Would I date you? Are you?
Okay, so petty theft at like 19, stole from Walmart.
Yeah, you talked about that and I killed Tony.
Yeah, and then second time I got arrested, I violated my probation from the first arrest.
Why? Because you were out or something?
Well, so like part of it, like I got a pre-trial intervention, right? So it basically means you've never been in trouble before. We're not even going to take you to trial. We're just going to make you do these things so it's like it never happened.
Okay.
We're not going to like technically charge you with anything. Okay. So they were like, you have to check in every month for 6 months to a year. If you want to do 6 months, you have to pay all this money by the 6 months and check in every month. You're done at 6 months.
Okay.
Obviously, I was a dumbass. So I didn't check in. I wasn't paying this and that, doing drugs, being stupid and irresponsible. I'm with my parents at my sister's volleyball game.
Stop.
Yeah. And the judge for that county that sent me to jail the first time was there and said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. To my mother. Was like, I need to talk to you about something. And my mom was like, what? And he goes, I signed a warrant for your daughter's arrest this morning. So, because his daughter played volleyball with my sister. So, and it's like such a small town. So it's like everyone.
Is this town?
No, thank goodness.
Oh, I'm like, damn, how small is this town?
No, so small. And so my mom was like, obviously had a panic attack stroke, was so upset and like, was like, you have to go to the courthouse tomorrow morning. Like ASAP, first thing in the morning. I'm freaking out because I'm like, fuck, why did I do that? I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
And, I'm like literally emailing, calling my parole officer at 7 a.m. He's not answering, obviously. I get there at like 9 a.m. as soon as they open. I go in his office and there's a police officer standing right behind him. Like they already were going to arrest me anyways.
What in the footloose is this? This is a movie.
Yeah, crazy. So then I got arrested the second time for violating my probation, and it was because I wasn't checking in, and I had to check in every month.
Yeah, the petty theft is whatever. I mean, grand theft, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, it was just like retail
grand
theft.
Theft is a little.
And I stole literally bullshit. Like the movie thing is so true. I stole like makeup, I think.
That's on brand.
Yeah, like I stole like lipstick and like a gloss and like a bunch of Maybelline products, and I was like, that Fit Me foundation, I need it, honey. And I stole, what else did I steal? I feel like I stole like a pair of panties. So, like, literally so stupid and crazy. And, like, I was dealing with bipolar at the time, like, undiagnosed, unmedicated.
So, you were in mania.
Bipolar, yeah. So, I was so
manic. Why didn't they
manic.
release you on mania?
Well, because at the time, like,
they didn't give mental health?
No, they don't give a shit about that. Like, they do not care. They said, like, honey, this town's full of crackheads. You're like,
what state is this that doesn't believe in mental health?
Well, it's actually Florida.
Oh, it's still Florida, just not this town.
No, it was it's all the way in the Panhandle. Yeah, in country bumfuck. So yeah, that wasn't even a question. They sent my ass straight to jail.
Yeah,
and second time got arrested for that. And
so how does it feel to be a woman of color? Because that's
Yeah, let's cut right to the chase.
Yeah, I mean that's just so
it's so weird because I feel like I don't ever identify as a woman of color, but like I guess I am.
Yeah, your name is also Selena.
Yeah.
They saw your name and they were like, nope.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but honestly, like, in all honesty, I feel like I was treated very fairly.
But that's good.
I feel like I was treated very nice. They were super fair to me, and, like, honestly, at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, I hate police. Fuck 12, for forever. But
I was just gonna say, would you like to thank Beyonce before?
No. But
so the Illuminati doesn't get you.
So whenever I mysteriously fall off my balcony and die, just like Liam Payne did 40 minutes ago, it's because I didn't. That's actually not funny. I cannot believe he died. Anyways, in all honesty, like, even though that is how I feel, I have to be very realistic about the situation and understand that it wasn't because of anything else besides the fact that the judge knew my parents. Wow. That's the only reason why. And my family, like, I know you've never met them, but they are literally amazing people. My dad is amazing. My family is so kind, and people love them because they're great people. So that is, in all honesty, why I got away with it. Exactly. If I did not have that, I don't think I would have been as lucky, because it's not on my record. It's literally like it never happened, because even when I violated my probation, they put me on another pretrial intervention and was like, look, this is your last fucking chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So,
like, yeah.
So that's the only reason why. So in all honesty, I have to as someone that has had run-ins with the law, I do have to say I was treated very fairly. I was never like looked at crazy or demeaned or anything.
That's good.
And it's probably because I am a woman, and like I said, it's a super small town. Like, all the correctional officers that worked at the jail literally knew my father like this. So cool. It's like, that's the only reason why. If I would have gotten arrested here or like in Orlando where nobody knows me, nobody gives a shit, I don't think it would have been the same story. Okay. But yeah, I don't think I've ever really said like I'm a woman of color. I don't know.
I'm sorry, was that offensive?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. I don't think so at all. I think that it's interesting because people view it so differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's different, like, on paper. I think it's definitely different for, like, specific ethnicities. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this stuff. But obviously, the Latino Hispanic community comes in all different, like, colors, shapes, sizes.
Absolutely.
But like, the diaspora is so different. You know, like South American Latinos and, you know, Caribbean Latinos and Mexicans, and like we have like a similar ethos, but we're all so different.
Absolutely.
It's not like so like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
For specific things, and I think I think one of the other marginalized groups that are most similar to us are like Arab women.
Yeah.
Because they're also women of color, but they don't identify as white or black.
Yeah. And I think like Arab or Middle Eastern women at the same time are just as like androgynous as we are, because they can be a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like you could
they can be Egyptian, they can be, you know.
Exactly.
They can be a lot of things.
And, you know, it just depends. And we are two of like the largest groups when we get like a form that you have to fill out, and it's kind of like other, like, because it's like I'm not.
It's so funny that you're saying that, because I have explained this to so many people, and I had a long conversation with my boyfriend about this, because he did not understand that, like, when it comes to race on a piece of paper, when they say what is your race, there's white, black, Pacific Islander, and other, or sometimes Asian, which makes no sense. But that's the races. So I was trying to explain to him, I don't choose other, I choose white. Because that's technically, I'm European and I'm
But you know
Latina.
what else is also crazy? Indigenous is not even a choice.
Right.
Which is like
wild. One of the OG races.
Like the OGs. Like, it's like, there's nothing that says indigenous. I guarantee you right now that indigenous peoples don't identify with anything on that form. So they check other and
that's what I was explaining to him, because now, like, it's not a newer thing, but it's newer than, like, at least whenever I was in elementary school, is they have white/not Hispanic, white/Hispanic.
Yes.
And so that is like, okay, now they're understanding, because that makes sense. And I'm like, that's why there's a race box and an ethnicity box, because those are two different things.
I also have umbrage with that. So let's we don't have to dig into this for too much longer. But
no, it's a very important conversation.
My umbrage with that is, and I did all of these deep dives when, you know, we were on lockdown during COVID, and like all of this was bubbling to the surface. You know, we had like Black Lives Matter and Me Too and all this. And so I started doing my own like research you know, about my own, because I didn't want to be, you know, ignorant on anything I said. And, you know, if I don't know what I'm talking about, then I just simply don't speak. Yeah. Not because I don't want to, but because I'd rather not. Like, you know,
You're not gonna catch me being wrong.
Like, I'm good. But I do want to know, like, what my barriers are, where I am, what's going on. So I found through, like, a very old friend of mine from New York City, who is like an activist,
okay, cool,
like a Puerto Rican activist. He's an artist, he's an activist, and so he would post a lot of rhetoric about how and why.
Yeah.
And so basically, back in like the early 50s, so to make it digestible for everybody, so in like the what's the movie? West Side Story times?
Yeah.
So the whole story of West Side Story, of like everybody immigrating to New York City, which I'll tell you why that happened, because I went to DC and I found out.
Oh.
So, you know, you have...
She's a history buff.
Yeah, so we go, like, you got, you know, Irish and Italians, and then they're fighting, and they're here, they came through Ellis Island, and then you have Latinos, and then everybody's living in Harlem, and this person can't talk to that person. So that's a very, very real world. And my grandparents actually immigrated here during that time. So that's very much to New York City. So they
and part of like your family's direct history. Yeah.
Yes. So that whole experience, and like the whole story. So my ex-husband is Irish. So my son always says, like, we're like West Side Story. Like, if you and Dad met you in the 50s, like, you would have never.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like that's just the reality. So essentially, after that big migration of everybody getting there, in this old Jet magazine, what I read is that's when they changed the census. So the census is a survey for the youth, your Gen Z people, where people like knock on your door and find out who lives there and blah, 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 this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And during that time...
Now I think they'd get shot to death for doing that.
During that time, they changed the census when there was such a large portion of immigrants coming to give shield an opportunity to Latinos. So specifically Puerto Ricans and other people coming to New York City. And if you could pass as something else, you didn't have to like identify.
Specify.
And so that is kind of how like the whitewashing of my specific people kind of happened in New York. Like, I would say my maternal grandfather is from Honduras, so he's from South America, and my maternal grandmother is from Puerto Rico. And then my father's parents, both of them originally from Puerto Rico. So everybody comes to New York City. But if you are looking at both of my grandfathers in their youth and their photographs, those two men are very evidently Afro-Latinos.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But they do not identify as that. Even though now we have that terminology, or what, that is just not...
Yeah.
Visually...
Yeah.
It is what it is. And then both of my grandmothers are, you know, fair and have specific features of, like, Puerto Rican women and, like, the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean, which I have a very strong percentage of. So it's kind of like, oh, all of these things together make this. Like, I did an ancestry after the movie Coco came out because I was really convinced I was Mexican. I wanted to be Mexican so bad. I saw that movie and I felt
You don't want to be us? I'm just kidding. No, honestly, if I wasn't Mexican, I'd be pissed. I'd want to be Mexican. I love being Mexican.
That movie was so beautiful, and all of it.
It's so beautiful.
Like, all of like the history and everything was. I was like, I feel so connected to this. I feel like I'm Mexican. No, I paid the money for Ancestry.
Not a lick.
No. It was kind of like, oh, here's your breakdown, and it was like all these percentages, and it was like, you're Puerto Rican ? And I was like, I took a test for nothing because.
Really?
Yeah.
It like came back inconclusive, kind of.
No, it came back like all of these percentages mean you're Puerto Rican. That's literally what it said.
Oh, I see.
It was like, you're this percent this, this percent this, this percent this. Puerto Rican, like, is what it said. Like, and it was like,
we're gonna take a wild guess here.
And I was like, oh, cool. But
ancestry scares the shit out of me. But.
Yeah, but what was the funniest part about that whole thing, based on, to bring it full circle, is 20% of, like, my DNA, like, my ethnicity is Black.
Oh, wow.
And my percentage to whiteness...
And you said, why do I look like this?
And I'm like... and my percentage to whiteness is, like, less than 3%.
That's crazy.
And then the rest of it is, like Latino origin, like,
right.
all these things. So it's, like, my heaviest percentages are, like, Spain, Portugal, Africa. And then it's, like, there's really, like, a 0.2% of whiteness. And it's essentially... when, like, the colonization came through the Caribbean, it was just, like, raping and pillaging everybody.
Yeah.
And somehow...
They said you got a smidge of that. It's a little hint.
Yeah, it wasn't even like, we're going to put some salt in that. They were like, oops. Like, it's like they spilled too much more like, in my DNA. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened. But it's funny, I was talking DMing the other day, Ash Cash, which is a local comedian here.
We love her.
And we do love her. And I was saying something... I was like, I think I've, like, totally messed up your perception of, like, 40-year-olds, because she's on the apps, and she was like, how old do you think this guy is? And we were like, 60? And she was like, he's 41, and I'm 41. And then I was like...
Yeah, but men age like shit.
But also he was a white man. It was just all the things.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's always my response when people are like, oh my gosh, you're in your 40s, you look great. Like, or I thought you were white. And I'm like... white women at 41 don't look
right, honey. If I was white, I would look like I'm 87 years old.
Like,
I would look like the old lady on Snow White.
The fact that, like, we're still thriving should tell you I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I think me and you are, like, honestly reversed, because you are way more Latina, like, personality but you look like how I feel like I am. You know what I mean? And, like, I actually
Friday.
I look very Hispanic. I look very Latina, but, like, I hate it because it's such an interesting concept for me, because I am in this weird middle that I've come to terms with, but I used to not. I'm in this weird middle where I am not Latina enough, but I'm not white enough either.
We could talk about this all day, and I don't want to eat up your pot about this, but you and I are going to be best friends forever.
Great conversation.
We're just going to have this conversation.
I think it's so good because for me, like, my mother is very Hispanic, and she's not even Hispanic. She's European. She's Spanish, Portuguese, a little bit of Greek, a little bit of, you know, she's very European. Mm-hmm. My grandmother is a 4'10", thick accent Portuguese crazy lady who has the very similar skin complexion as you. My mom has a very similar skin complexion as you, and that's majority of my family is my mom's side, and they're all beautiful European women, very European. And then my father's side of the family is very Mexican, but they all live in Texas. It's very, like, cowboy Mexican. It's very Tex-Mex, the epitome of Tex-Mex. And I think it's beautiful, and I think Mexican culture is beautiful, and I love that I have that in my family. However, both of my parents come together and have 3 beautiful kids and move us into the middle of the country. Like, bumfuck country.
Yeah,
there is no Target. There's no Publix. There's no fun. There's nothing.
Those are, like, the brownest people they ever saw.
Brownest people they've literally ever seen. The biggest, the biggest and the brownest.
They're like, oh
no! The biggest and the brownest, honey, that they've ever seen. And so it was a culture shock to both of my parents and me, you know? So it's like, that is my culture, is country, like country music, fishing, hunting, trucks, mudding, country accents, boots.
No G's.
Yeah, all that. That is my home.
Mexican with no G's.
Right. That's where I grew up, is in the middle of nowhere. That's what I know. Mm-hmm. But my family is so opposite. They're all so different. Like, my mom's family, like I said, all speaks Spanish and speaks Portuguese and super European and, you know, all these things. Mm-hmm. And my dad's family are all very Mexican and, you know, live in the Mexican culture more so, and they're all close together. And I just got removed from all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I never relate enough to very Latina women that speak Spanish, that are very Latina. But I also am not white either. Like, I do have some differences.
See, I don't identify with white culture at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anyone in my family who is.
Right,
so
right.
It's very strange for me to be perceived that way.
Yeah.
When it's kind of like, oh, but I look like my family. I think it didn't really hit me or resonate with me until I got married and my name changed.
Yeah.
And then...
That's so true, because you went from, what was...
Well, my comedy name is my maiden name, which is Jess Torres.
Right.
But my married name is a very white name. It's not a common name.
Yeah.
And it was one of the... That's, like, another, like, hang-up I had. Like, I went from, like, such an easy last name. No one ever had to guess how to say my name. And then I went to this, like, married... And people would always mispronounce it. And I'd be like, oh, my gosh. This is where white people are oppressed. Like, you know,
is the names.
When they have weird, like, you know, difficult last names.
It's like, you know, Kaylee, but with 3 H's, an I for some reason, and a G, like, craziness.
Yeah. Like, names like Gronkowski or whatever. And you're
right.
That's rough. Like, you know what I mean? So that's their oppression, I suppose. But I never realized, and I never started being outwardly, like, told to my face, like, oh, you're Puerto Rican, or like, you're Latina. Like, it was like sometimes confusion, sometimes disgust, sometimes like disbelief, like, no, you're not. And I was like,
we just fully start speaking Spanish.
No, you're not. Speak Spanish, prove it. And I'd be like, do you speak Spanish, and are you going to understand? Like, a lot of weird requests, or not just being able to be like, okay. No, it'd be like, prove it, show me, tell me. And I'm like, that's a lot. Like, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, to take in.
That's so weird. People are so weird.
That's a big ignorant thing. Another big ignorant thing is when people would be like, yeah, you don't look like Latina. You look Brazilian. And I'm like, which is also Latina.
Correct.
I'm like, which is in South America, but go off. Like,
yeah, go off, queen.
do you. Like,
do what you want to do.
That's fine. And then I would also say, and I don't know if you've had this experience, because I feel like we are the same in reverse, but I feel like the people who are most, like, prejudiced or discriminatory against me is our own kind.
Yes.
And so I will have, like, straight up Puerto Ricans be like, you're not Puerto Rican? And I'm like, no, you're not. And I'm like, why?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I come from a different time, or, I mean, I think there's also... I have a very big family because I'm Latina, and like both sides of my family are very big and different. And I was predominantly raised by my grandparents, who, you know, immigrated here, and, you know, who instilled specific things in me. Not saying that my cousins didn't have this experience, but I think I was just exposed to my grandparents the most.
I think that's such a big thing in Latin culture too, is grandparents, and that's something I didn't really have either.
So the big grandparent thing is like, at home we spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
But when you go outside, you better speak the best English.
Right. Yeah.
And so sometimes when I talk, people are like, you don't sound Puerto Rican. And I'm like, because I'm speaking English.
Yeah, exactly. What is Puerto Rican supposed to sound like?
Spanish now? Like, I'm always like so confused about, you know,
I guess
what
it's just
people,
them saying like, you sound white is basically what they're saying.
It's people saying you don't match a stereotype.
Correct. Yeah.
That was created. And I feel like that narrative, I'm like so over it. I mean, it's not a hill I'm going to die on anytime soon, because there's, of course, other more marginalized communities than ours. But I think, you know, we're making headway. I think, you know, obviously there's still a lot of work and things to be done for the Black and African American community and the Asian community. And then I think we're maybe next.
Yeah. I think it's definitely...
Then Middle Eastern, and then us.
Yeah. It's definitely like, it's one of those things where knowledge truly is power. And just informing yourself and being really knowledgeable about what these things are and how they work, and the terminology, like you're saying, and the history behind all these things, because it is very important. And I think for me, like, you know, my family's decision to have us grow up in this specific environment. It's not something I'll ever hate them for. Do I wish I would have grown up more Hispanic? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel as connected with my culture as I feel like I should. And that bothers me. It will always bother me. But at the same time, like, I understand why my parents did what they did and wanted to raise me in a different environment, because, you know, we don't come from, like, the best of family. So my dad was like, you know, I just want my kids to be safe.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
if I have to raise them in the middle of the fucking woods with a white guy that kills gators for fun, that's what keeps them safe, then that's what I'm gonna do. I don't want them to grow up in the middle of Houston or in, you know, big cities and all this and that, because I want them to be safe. And I think for me, I always got the opposite of what you're saying, is people come up to me and think that I don't speak English, or think that I'm illegal, or think that I'm just an idiot Mexican and I don't understand what they're saying. And then I turn around and I sound just like them. You know what I mean?
And that's so funny to me, because I think the people who look most Latino and Hispanic are the people who look like they could be so many different things.
Yes, yeah.
Because, like, I'm like, oh, like, I look at you and I'm like, she could be Greek, she could be...
Yeah, people say that to me all the time.
She could be Lebanese, she could be... And then I'm like, oh, she's Latina. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, if I can look at you and be like, she looks like potentially 3 different ethnicities, that just means you're Latina. Like, it's basically how I, like, translate that. I'm like, oh, okay.
And between, like, the results of both my parents' ancestries, because I've never done it, but they have, and so it's like, that's basically me. I just take both and mesh them together.
That's it. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm a little bit of everything, genuinely. And, like, it's crazy because my dad, he went through this whole, like, I want to learn about my family history and, like, a family tree based off of DNA. And he did a lot of research, and it was so interesting to, like, find out that, like, you know, a specific generation of grandparents have, you know, came to America, and how, like you're saying, the census and history, how it, like, starts to connect dots and align with, like, why your family is the way that it is. And, like, you know, because my last name is Ubias. In Spanish, it's Ubias.
Ubias, yeah.
And so, like...
When you said that on KT...
I don't even know how he said my last name. It was nuts.
No, it was the way you explained it. I was I was like, this girl got bars. I was like, you were just on. You were like, I'm on and I'm not getting shut off. And I was like, she came out full Selena. I was like, she came out full.
And it's crazy because you're like the millionth person I feel like that's told me that, like you were so yourself, and that's honestly
that was my favorite part,
the biggest compliment that I could get, because that's all I wanted to be.
You had like I don't even know if you were nervous, but
I was petrified. I was petrified.
Had no idea. I
was petrified until they opened the curtain. Once they opened the curtain and I'm standing there and I say my first words, I was not nervous anymore. But up until that point, I was literally about to shit myself.
The first year I did stand-up, every time I touched a mic, I blacked out.
Yeah, same. Literally same.
I can't tell you who was there. I can't tell you what the room looked like. It was like...
I don't know what I said. I don't know what they laughed at.
Not unless I videoed it. I was like...
Right.
I don't even know, like, when that shut off. And I'm grateful. Occasionally it comes back. Like, if it's a big show.
Yes.
Or if there's, you know, a comic I respect and they're actually going to watch my set or whatever. I'm like, fuck. Like, you know, it's like the second... It's like I don't see anything. It's like I'm blacked out until I hear, like, my first laugh. And then, like, I get my Riz, and I'm like, okay, she's rizzed up.
It's so funny because I went through the blackout thing really, really bad. Like my whole first year of comedy, I drank a lot. So it was not only like nerve blackout, but it was like alcoholic blackout.
So opposite.
And so like my first year,
I have never ever done comedy not sober.
Really?
Never once.
You know what's so crazy is, so first year, I'm blackout drunk all the time. I'm drinking all the time. It's how I deal with the nerves. Then I met my boyfriend that I'm dating now.
Wait, I met you the first year and we had this conversation before you went on.
Yeah, and I was drinking Tito's and Cran.
And you were like, I was like, are you good? And you were like, I need to have one more drink. And I was like,
I was literally psychotic
with it. No, you're like, it's good. Like, the more, I'll be better. You're like, the more I do it, the better I'll get. And Ash was actually on that show, and I was like, and Ash was like, no, she'll be fine. And I was like, okay, because, sometimes I get like mama bear mode. I'm like, is they gonna be okay? Yeah.
Because you obviously don't want anybody to embarrass themselves, and like you're there and see it, Right. That's the worst.
Also, all the ladies, I'm like, so... Like,
you better kill. No, I, like, my first year, I was so adamant about getting tipsy, sometimes drunk. Like, the first time I ever went on stage, I was plastered. Jess, I'm talking plastered drunk. There's, the audience is maybe 10 people. It looked like 50. To me, like, I'm talking about,
you're like,
I'm performing at Madison Square Garden right now. Like, there is so many people. Literally, the lights are so bright. I'm like, I'm Madison Square Garden. I'm literally performing for all of America right now. So get it together. But then I met my boyfriend that I'm dating now, and he doesn't drink at all. He's completely sober.
Is that from the autism or just like the regular?
I think it doesn't mix well with the autism. Okay. I think,
and he really, that's not a joke. Like.
Okay, here's the thing. So he will never say he's autistic. He's very adamant that he's not. I have conducted my own studies and tests. Trust me.
On the spectrum.
He's on the spectrum. Like, I mean, there are times that it flares up more than others, but he definitely has autism. But we love him. So he doesn't drink at all. He's sober, doesn't drink at all. And so in turn, naturally, I stopped drinking as much. I was still a little bit here and there, but way less than I was naturally, because I liked being sober with him. And it wasn't like,
be aware.
I'm not with someone that's drinking just as much as I am. So it was like, okay, well, maybe I won't get another drink. You know what I mean? So then I can't even remember what show it was.
Oh my God, wanting to be sober with someone, that is so telling, by the way.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, you know what, I don't need another,
especially anybody that knows me personally thinks that I'm nuts. That I'm like, what happened? And so I did a big show, and it was for a lot of people, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to drink at all. I'm not going to drink at all today, period. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to go up on stage completely sober, and I'm going to see what happens and see how it feels. And it was 10 times, 100 times more fulfilling as a comedian to experience comedy completely sober, and it made all the dots connect, and it made sense why so many successful comedians and very famous comedians that have been doing it for a long time are stone cold sober, because it makes sense to me now, and I understand why. And so now, like, even when I was on Kill Tony, I had one drink that day because it was my birthday, so I'm like, okay. I had like one, maybe two, like, hours before, completely sober, and it felt amazing. Like, you feel everything, you recognize everything, you understand what's going on, you're way more self-aware, things feel better, you feel more yourself. It definitely is scarier.
I've seen people on Kill Tony drunk, and it's not good.
Right.
It's like, ooh, like, it's like secondhand embarrassment. It's like, oh my gosh, like, I hope they got home safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And for me, I think, first of all, I've never been like a big stuff. I'm like more of like a social drinker, or like, whatever, like, or like a glass of wine with dinner. So I've never been that person. But when I finally decided I'm going to do comedy, it was like such a cathartic moment, because I felt like I hadn't been heard or like listened to in so long. And so I felt like if that was going to happen for me, I needed to be my most clear self if I was going to command the attention of a room.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's not going to happen if I'm a messy bitch. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's kind of like I have this microphone and you're going to listen to me, it's kind of like, okay, like, listen up. Like, okay, she's someone to stop and listen to. And that's one of my most favorite compliments in like the time I've been doing comedy is in regards to like bombing and like stuff like that. My original, like, when I started being an adult, like my first career, my first career was in entertainment. And so I deal with bombs or things like that really well. Yeah. Because I don't see them as that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never left a performance.
They're happy accidents.
Yeah, I've never once left a performance where like I didn't get not one laugh or anything like that. Sure, there's been certain times where like, oh, this joke hit better or whatever. But I also do equate it to the crowd. And I do, while I'm on stage, have the ability to pivot and see like, oh, this room wasn't resonating with that. Let me switch to this.
Yeah.
And I do have that knack. And one of our local comedians who's been doing this for a long time, they said, you know, the interesting thing about watching you work is even if it's, they didn't say bomb, but they're like, even if it's not your best set, you never lose the room.
Yeah.
They're quiet. Like they will listen. Like when you're talking, people will listen.
Yeah.
And that, even if you're not getting a laugh, that's almost just as good because it means like you have the ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
To command the room, and it's not like, oh, well, now it's time to go to the bathroom, or I'm going to talk to my neighbor, or you know, whatever.
Right.
They're still like locked in. Mm-hmm. They want you to know, like they want to know where you're going.
Yeah,
and so,
I've been told the same thing, and I've been compared to you multiple times.
Stop!
Which I think is so cool. You're like, ooh, that's horrible.
No,
but
that's one of my biggest compliments because I love you so much. But,
yeah, I think that you are really good about that, and I think like how you're saying like you've always gone on, like you've never been on stage not sober, and I think that really shows in your comedy, and it shows how you are as a performer, because people, like exactly like you're saying, I've observed the exact same thing, and I was just about to say that I feel like you are so good at being the center of attention, whether people are dying laughing or not, you're the center of attention though, and people are paying attention to you, and again, that is just as important, and I feel the exact same way, is like, even if people have told me this before, even if people aren't laughing, they're still paying attention to me.
Right.
And there's not people like talking over me or, you know, this and that. People are still paying attention, even if they don't love what I'm saying.
Right.
They're still paying attention. And that is just as fulfilling as like completely murdering everyone's dying laughing.
Yes. And I think maybe that's kind of how I pivot into crowd work, because it's kind of like if I'm currently not the center of attention, or if I'm losing the room, I can figure out like, who's going to get it back. Like, and I'm like, oh, that person seems like they could, you know, and whether they're wearing like a funny hat or they're doing whatever, it's kind of like, oh, I feel like this might bring everybody back. And so I kind of take it off me and then like throw it out there. Like, okay, you don't like me? Maybe you'll like one of your own. And
exactly.
You know, and so it's kind of like, let's see how this is going to go. But,
yeah. And usually when you're like naturally a funny person and charismatic like you are, it like, I want to say 100% of the time works out. You know what I mean? Like maybe we'll say 99 just to be accurate, but it always tends to work out because we make it make sense. You know what I mean? And I think that comedy is one of those things, because this is something that I struggle with, and it's prevalent to Brevard comedy scene specifically, is that like there tends to be this is how you're supposed to do it, and what you're doing is not like
really
the guidelines. Yeah.
This is how I feel in Brevard. I feel like I could do a show in one room and kill, and then go a mile down the road.
Oh yeah.
And not.
Right.
Brevard is the weirdest space. Like Brevard County is like so bizarre, and the way I like equate rooms is like, oh, and I typically try to make jokes whichever room hits, because if I'm out here, I try to do more than one show. Like, okay, I'm here. Well, is there a mic or is there something, so that I didn't just drive out here for whatever. And it's like, oh, well, if this room isn't laughing, I'm like, I was just down the road and your kids loved this. You know, so it's kind of like if your parents are in this one. So it's like if I like killed in the Kava bar.
Yeah. Oh God.
But then, you know, I was. People were disappointed in me, you know, at the fry fish place. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, there was like obviously I've been heckled many times, but
we love a heckle.
One of the biggest heckles I got was a couple months ago here in Brevard, and I was on the show with a lot of your faves, a lot of the best of Brevard, and
the best of Brevard.
And I was sweating. Like, when I got off, I was like, and I went toe to toe with this dude. And then what was like really interesting to me was that like nobody, and not that I need defending, but it was like nobody was like, hey, like, you know,
But like no one was telling the heckler to like, hey, let's go down a little bit.
No, but other people in the audience were. So this man was coming for me, and then there was other people being like, shut the fuck up, and like,
good.
And being like, she's fucking funny, and I was like, oh, thanks. Like, you know, I'm like, sir, you're the only one that's vibing. Not getting laughs. You are not passing the vibe check, so you can leave. Like, no one is like marrying you to this fish fry table. Like, you can go. Like. And that was like one of the weirdest things. And I just kept going back and forth with him. And then I said something, I don't know this place super well. It'd be like if you were in Orlando, or it'd be like if you were in Central Florida and you were doing a show in Kissimmee and you were like, blah, 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 well, in Orlando, and somebody was like, it's Kissimmee. It was even like that. It was like, because I was like, blah, 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 Melbourne. And they were like, this is a seacoaster. And I was like, I don't give a fuck where we are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, shut up. Like, this is not. Oh
my God.
Like, this
one
is
of the
not
worst heckles. This is literally the worst heckle I've ever gotten. It was just a noise. It was just a noise. Worst heckle I've ever gotten. It made me genuinely feel like a dumbass. I'm literally, doing my thing, and I can tell that, like, I'm obviously not doing the best. I'm getting chuckle here and there. Not killing, right? But I'm not bombing either.
Right. Because if you're getting a chuckle, it's not a bump.
Yeah, it's not a bomb.
Means no laugh.
Silence. And it's like, it's giving like no one gives a fuck. Everyone's walking. We've seen it. I see it constantly here. I've seen it constantly here. And I'm literally doing my thing, and I could tell that, like, because I was newer into comedy, and I'm trying to do storytelling, and I am at the point in my career where storytelling, I haven't tied in the funnies to the build up, and it's boring a little bit. And this guy goes, that was it. And I said, oh. That was the heckle. He just goes,
I would simply perish.
I died.
I'd be like, and that's my time. Like,
no, seriously. Like so dramatically loud. Was just for everyone to hear.
It's like when you're getting eaten out and they're just like taking too long.
Yeah.
That man was basically like
literally, I looked and I was like, oh, okay, love that for me. And I just like moved on, and like that got a laugh because he literally did it, and I said, because it was so loud. And
I would have been like,
but it like definitely broke the ice because like, again, I hadn't really gotten like my first big laugh in the set yet, and it definitely broke the ice because everyone laughed at the side because everyone was thinking it.
Yeah, and they're like, can she?
Yeah, and I said, oh, so all you guys agree? Everyone that laughed, you guys agree with the sigh.
Was it a show or a mic?
It was a show.
It was an actual show.
Okay. It was an actual show.
Because if that hasn't
it's not like
been
I got
a
paid
mic,
or anything. It's Brevard, but
well, it doesn't even matter. But like, if it's a mic, if I'm hosting a mic or if I'm at a mic in general, I like for it to be shared with the audience.
Yeah.
What an open mic means.
Yeah.
And like, hey, we are all working comedians. So sometimes we're going to do our greatest hits because we have a show coming up. And sometimes we're going to be working out new material.
Yeah.
So please just be honest with your feedback and like,
let out a big sigh.
Let me know. But if this was a straight up show, I'd be like, oh, and I'm scrapping that joke. Like, you know what I mean? Literally. And I was like, thank you for your time. Like,
yeah. Thank you so much.
He was your census. He was like.
He was it for me. Yeah. That was my presidential election right there. I knew everything I needed to know. I said, oh, okay, thank you so much for your feedback. I'd love to have you back again. Please watch all my things to let me know, like, what's the vibe. And, like, the worst part about it...
He basically told you...
You're so boring, I'm going to fall asleep.
He said your job is a black job. And, like...
He said it's a black job. Low-paying job. Get out of here.
Yeah. That's my goal in comedy. I booked a show once... by simply just being honest, and they were like, oh, like you got recommended by a black comic and blah blah blah, and they were like, we saw like your clips, why do you think we should hire, or like, oh no, what are your goals in comedy? And I said, my goals.
They asked you that?
Yeah.
Oh, so she's booking theaters, honey. She's selling out small comedy clubs. I've never been asked that once in my life.
And I'm like on the phone with this person, and I was like, my goals in comedy, and I was like on a 3-way call, like with the booker and then whoever else ran the company.
Oh my God.
I was like my goals in comedy, and I was like, to be a black man. And they were both like, what? And they were like, we don't even care what else you say, you're on the show. And I was like,
oh, she knows how to cater. She knows how to cater.
Okay.
Love that. I think that's so important too, is whenever like, especially females specifically, when female comedians can really vibe with any type of room. The other day I heard it called a dark room, like predominantly black rooms. They literally called it a dark room, and I said
that's not right.
I was like, wait, is that what we're
a black room?
I said, are we saying that now? A dark room is crazy.
No.
I've
dark
never.
room means like comedy wise, like dark comedy wise.
Yeah.
Not no. I've never heard
a dark room as pertaining to a black room.
No, that's wrong. It should just be called a black room.
That's crazy. But like as a female to be able to fit in anywhere is like, it's such a powerful thing, and like it's one of those things that it does have to be your priority or your goal, because there are some female comics that are very successful, like Hannah Berner, for example, that specific, and Ali Wong even, that specifically cater to women. Ali Wong's a little bit different because she makes everything she's talking about very funny, so she can, like, men will laugh too.
Yeah, Angela Johnson isn't very focused.
Correct. But like Hannah Berner's a perfect example that like she's like, I am for women. Morgan Gallo, I am for women, and that is it, and that's perfectly fine. We need that. That's a necessity. But I think for females to be able to do a black room, to do a predominantly Hispanic room, to do predominantly white men room and still do well is such a huge accomplishment, because it's really genuinely not easy, because we don't have that perspective. We're not black men, we're not white men, we're not men, period.
But you said something, I don't even know where we were filming when you said it, that you have the ability to make men laugh.
Yeah.
And women. And that's like a box that I haven't yet checked. Like, for some reason, I feel like sometimes men fear laughing at me, and they'll be like, you were funny. Like, you know, like they'll speak it, or they'll be like, she's very funny.
Or they'll follow you on Instagram and like your selfie from 12 years ago.
Yeah, they'll do all that. But it's not like I'm funny. So I do have like my own wins. Like, I know for certain, I know if I'm on an all-female show, I know it's going to be great. Like, for me, because I know that the audience is going to be predominantly female. I know we're on a show on Friday together, all-female show.
Yes.
So we'll see. But I mean, typically things like that, I'm kind of like, okay, great. I know that works. And I do really well in black rooms. And I'm just like so grateful. Like my first, I've talked about this on another pod before, so I won't talk about it a lot. But do you do vision boards or anything?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. So I'm like really believe in like setting intentions and manifesting, blah, blah, blah. I've always been like that. But when COVID hit, like it just wasn't enough. And I think it's because we were like so isolated. I wasn't able to attract energies. Yeah,
because it was cooped up in that house.
Yeah, and so you're just like, it's like recirculating air on an airplane. It's like, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make vision boards. And so I started doing vision boards, and every year I made those vision boards. Most all the things on the vision boards have check. Like,
oh, wow, that's crazy.
And so I can say one, because it already happened.
But I remember in like middle school, I made a vision board about being skinny, and I'm still waiting on that to come true.
Do you want to be skinny, or do you, because I feel like you look beautiful.
I feel like everyone says that, and like I don't. No, it's not sensitive, because I feel like I'm at the point in my life where body image is completely open to talk about, and it's a big deal, and it's big to me, and it's important to me. I think that like, obviously in middle school, like Tumblr and Pinterest and all that bullshit, being skinny was like an aesthetic, and it was you have to be skinny to count as a person, as a woman. You
your face
only matter.
Is not declining.
Never. But at the same time, like it's one of those things where like comedy has given me an even worse body image.
Really?
But at the same time, it has made me accept who I am as a person 100%. But I think that like not being on stage allowed me to live in like this delusion of like, you know, I look how I think I look, and no one's like ridiculing me, or I'm not on a camera, or all the times I record my sets, like I literally don't post clips of my comedy because I hate how I look in the clips.
Really?
Swear. Everyone keeps saying, why do you not post clips? Why do you not post clips? Love the jokes I say. Kill. Great clips. Great laughs. Great everything.
Shock.
But I cannot post it because of the way that I fucking look. Isn't that so embarrassing?
My mouth, agape. Like, I'm like...
Literally.
Shock. This is new news.
It's horrible.
New news.
It's so unfortunate.
Me and Bob Ross, we have feelings.
I don't even know. It's so bad. So, like, even whenever, like, Kill Tony aired and I saw myself from, like, certain angles, I was like, fuck, I want to kill myself. Excuse me, YouTube, I want to unalive.
she wants to unalive.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm so jealous. Like, not jealous, but I'm so, like, empowered by female comedians that look like me, that post clips, post photos, post all these things, and are fucking killing it. And they're hilarious. And, you know, all of these things, like, I can't remember her first name, but I know her last name's Traeger. Glitter Cheese on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with her. She is so fucking funny. She is a plus-sized woman. She dresses so cute. Her comedy is so similar to mine. She's so, like, improv, and her name's Glitter Cheese on Instagram. Okay. I think her last name's Traeger. I can't remember her first name. Anyways, she's someone that, like, seriously inspires me because she has talked about, like, some of the same issues, but she also, like, posts all of her clips and posts photos and all these things, and I think that she's so cool. Yes. And she is such a good fucking comedian, and I hate that I let insecurity hold me back.
I don't follow her, but I do now.
Yeah, she's amazing. Okay. Obsessed with her.
Okay, cool. That's cool to know.
Yeah.
I will research her.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, like, body image is part of it, but at the same time, I know that it's what makes me who I am, and it's my culture. I look like my family, and I have to learn to, like, love that and embrace that and be okay with that. And body positivity is in all levels. Just because you 100%. Look the way... Just because I want to lose weight doesn't mean that I hate who I am. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be positive about your body in all aspects of it. And I don't believe, like, we should normalize being unhealthy.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
I agree.
Some people do. I don't. But I believe that body positivity exists in all levels of your body and all levels of self-esteem. And that's kind of what I've been, like, thinking about and dissecting.
This might resonate with you, it might not. But this beginning part, since you said you've struggled with it since you were young, won't. But I have never been, gratefully, in my life, body conscious ever. I've always been petite. I've always been short. I just kind of embraced it. You know, I'm short. I'm tiny. I have small boobs. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I just kind of, like, I am me. Like, it is who I am. I never saw it as a negative. I always got to be who I wanted to be with. I always got to sleep who I wanted to sleep with. Like, there was no obstacles for me. Like, you know, I got the jobs I wanted to get. Not that I got jobs based on the way I looked, but it was kind of like, I didn't feel the need to change myself.
Yeah.
Until I turned 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and divorce will do weird things to you.
So what is it you feel like you want to change? Like, what's something, like, you're saying that's coming to your radar?
So it was just kind of, like, a bunch of different things. So, again, this is all, like, COVID-induced and, like, that, like, pressure cooker of, like, not being exposed to people. Yeah. And just having yourself in a mirror and then just being able to be like, oh, my gosh, like...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, like, I have jowls, or, like, this is happening, or the eyes, like, I have darker circles under my eyes. Like, just, like, the nitpicking of everything, or, like, oh, I should, like... tone my belly more, I should do this or I should do that, like, and at this time, happily married. Yeah. But still, like, oof, like, I should be doing all these things. Then
death is knocking around the corner.
Then going from, like, separated and divorced, and then being like, oh, I gotta elevate because now I'm gonna be back out in these streets.
Right.
And not that not that I look unhealthy, but it's kind of like I'm going to go into a pool. It's like going into a wave pool at a water park. It's like, I haven't been in there in years. Yeah. And these people been in here, and their piss is all up in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's
that's how I feel like walking into a CrossFit gym. And I'm like, oh, see, I definitely can't do this.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, whatever. So I started really getting into that. And then during my... like divorce, I don't know if you know this, but during, like, the process of my divorce and, like, it happening and completing, like, the actual hearing and all of that, my father died. And so within 30 days, it was like any man who was supposed to stay with me forever, gone.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I just, like, was so stressed. I lost my appetite. And I got super skinny, not on purpose. And, like, for me, I won't say what a healthy weight is. I'll tell you offline. But I have a specific healthy weight. And during that time, and comedy it was also like I'm being lit by a comedy match at the same time. I was 98 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
yeah.
Is this because I'm 98 pounds? Like, you know what I mean? Like or is it because I'm funny? And I think comedy has altered like my perception, because people would start to say like, oh, you're getting booked because you're pretty.
Yeah.
And Selena, hand to God, I have never in my life been complimented that way until I started doing comedy. So until I turned 40, I didn't have people actively being like, you have pretty privilege, you have this, you have that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I almost like didn't believe it, because I was like, who? Like me? No, like look at that young girl over there or whatever. And it was like, well, I want to be booked because I'm funny, not because I like look a certain way. But all of that was really eye-opening, like this whole like perception of appearance. But at the same space, like we were talking about, like other comedy cities and like hot girl comedy, I never and I still don't feel like I fit into like that mold or that space. But I'm constantly like at odds with myself. Like right now, I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you I'm overweight for myself.
Really? Mm-hmm. I feel like you look, I hope you don't take this the wrong way. No. I genuinely feel like you look so much better now than you did when I first met you.
Okay, so that's like when I was in the thick of it. So that's
way happier. You look way healthier. You look fantastic. Your skin looks good. Like all of those things. I genuinely feel like you look astronomically better now than you did when I first met you.
Well, thank you. And one of my trainers, he's been with me the whole time. So like during that time, well, before this time, during this time, and now. And he's Puerto Rican. And recently, like, I was at the gym and, whatever. And I'm lifting, and he was like, you're looking good, Nana. And I was like, I'm looking big. And he was like,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, and he's like, you're not looking big. And he was just like so real. You'll appreciate this. And he was like, and I was like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, listen, no bullshit. You've been knowing me like for over 3 years. Do you think now I look the healthiest? Like, or what has been my best? And he's like, you know what? He's like, I'll shoot you straight because you're my friend and I love you. And he was like, last year, you got too skinny. Was it your fault? No, you were going through a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's like, you weren't like nourishing enough, like you weren't eating enough protein. But you had a lot of things going. He's like, I wasn't gonna focus on that. Let you do your thing. I knew eventually it'd circle around. He goes, so you're not big, to your point. He was like, you just look normal, and I think you forgot you're Latina.
Yeah.
Because essentially, he was just kind of like, where you're big is just...
curves.
It's your aesthetic. He's like, it's just kind of like, that's your heritage. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, he's like, if you keep working out, he's like, those big parts are only going to get bigger, like and not necessarily fat. So I'm like, but it's a mix between like body changing and age, and then coming up on being like 3 years without my husband, like, and still being single, and like you know what I mean. It's kind of like I don't know. I'm like, obviously something's not working. So and not even just like looks wise, just like life. So I'm kind of constantly like recalibrating, like, all right, we got to flip the script again. Like, do I need new friends? Do I need to? So that's why like right now I'm taking a break from dating, because I'm like, I think I need to focus on me. And basically what that means is I need to focus on relationships that are not romantic.
Right.
And I think I just need to talk to girlfriends more. Or I need to have like a friend group, or I need to do things more like that, and not equate like my friend groups or hangouts just to comedy. Yeah. Because sometimes that happens too. And these are people who I've known and grown close to over the last 3 years. But these aren't the people
Yeah.
I'm going to be 42. These aren't the people who've been here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
While I want like new relationships, I also have to be aware like I do still need to maintain the ones that existed before this time.
Yeah.
And I just need to really like curate my people, which I haven't done in a while because I've been just so focused on not finding someone else, but just like hoping someone finds me, I guess.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
absolutely. And I think too, it's like one of those things where like a lot of people say that it comes at you at the most unexpected times, which to me has reigned pretty true. And I think that like the boyfriend that I have now, we met at a super like, this doesn't make sense time, but it made all the sense and it worked exactly the way that I could have wanted it to. And I think that people are so different now. Dating is so weird, and people are just, it's so hard to find what you're looking for, especially if you're like too detailed about what you're looking for, but also if you're not detailed enough, you know what I mean? So it's like, you obviously want a specific kind of person, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think also like remaining open to all kinds of things is so important, and being ready for that, because it's like, I'm doing all these things, I'm focusing on myself, I'm doing comedy, I have a job, I have a kid, I have all these things, but then like, what if the person you're supposed to be with, you meet them tomorrow at a coffee shop? Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be able to handle it? Is that like what you're ready for? Is that what you want? You know, what if they don't like stand-up comedy, or what if, you know what I mean? Like, who knows, you know?
What if they lie?
What if they lie, like majority of people do?
What if they say they do and then they don't? Like,
yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's obviously so hard to like gain trust, and men are obviously a little sketchy. So it definitely is difficult, and I'm very grateful to not have to be like in the dating realm right now, and hopefully never again. So it's like I'm very grateful for that, but I also like have a lot of single friends that are close to your age, that are younger, you know, that everyone says the same thing, that what you're saying is that it's really hard. And I think especially if you're like from this area too, it's like even more difficult because you know everyone. It's like, it's a fucking nightmare. But I think that us talking about like body image and how you're saying like your image of yourself has completely changed, and you're dealing with all those things too. It's crazy to me to think that like someone that looks like you is dealing with the same things that I am, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, but it does make sense to me now, like that you're explaining it. And I think that like for me, I was always like not content with the way that I looked, but I got complacent in it and like didn't really care as much until I started getting on stage. And like this past week in particular has been the hardest for me because of Kill Tony, and like just getting called a fat fuck, obese pig, like all these crazy...
Are these on comments?
Yes. Getting called all these crazy things for the past week on Reddit, on comments. You know how people are.
Reddit's a very cultural, like a age-specific thing. Like I'm not...
And I'm a dumbass for reading it. It's my fault.
I'm not on Reddit. I'm too old for it. Like I didn't even know it existed until I started commenting. People were like, oh, just go on Reddit. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, so like this week in particular has been the hardest for me because ever since the episode dropped, it's definitely been like put on a pedestal, or not on a pedestal, but more so under a microscope is basically what it is. And like, obviously I knew what Kill Tony was. I knew what I was signing up for, and the banter and the roasting that happened on stage didn't bother me at all. It's to be expected, and I can handle those things.
And your comedy is self-deprecating at times.
Correct, exactly. So it's like, it's not like I'm, you know, an idiot and blind to it. But I think that obviously I had never done that before. That's never happened to me before, to have hundreds of comments on multiple social media platforms and getting messages and DMs and comments under my own posts and all of these things. And like random clips are on Instagram. I click on the comments, 50 comments that I've never read before that are all about me. You know what I mean? So it's like, that has been way harder than I could have imagined it. And I thought that I was confident enough to deal with it. And most people are like, yeah, but you have such thick skin, this and that. And it's like, I don't. I cried the other day about it. So it's like, it's hard. But I do think comedy, at least for both of us, is very empowering. And it's an empowering thing that we use to use our voice and to be heard and to express ourselves. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
100%.
And I think that you are such a talented comedian. I admire you. I think that you are
the same way.
So beautiful, and you're so confident, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you remind me a lot of my mother.
I love it. I love it.
She is a young mom, but you both have the same energy. And it's something that's very nostalgic and like addicting to me, because I love my mother, and she has a very like motherly personality and gets along with everybody and loves everyone and laughs and is very like neutral in all things, and is a very motherly, beautiful person. And you give me that energy, and you have the same hair color as her, you have the same skin color as her, so it's like you remind me of my mom so much. So it's a good energy to be around, and you are just always someone that like I've always admired and like looked up to and thought that you were so cool and so.
I love you so much.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on, because I wanted to talk to you, and I haven't seen you in a while, and I wanted to dive into things and talk about things, and I'm glad that you came. I appreciate it so much. You're literally the best.
Listen, this is a catalyst, because we're seeing each other today, and then we're on a show this Friday, and then we're on a show together next Friday too.
Which one's next Friday?
Space Coast, the all-female show here.
Women. Yes, hysterical women. We're so excited. We're seeing each other a bunch. It's like I haven't seen you in months, and now
it's on.
Yes, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm stoked. I think all women shows are the best. We're gonna kill it and have so much fun.
So much fun.
Well, thank you so much for being on Unstable Creatures. I cannot wait to have you back.
Me too. Thanks for letting me be unstable.
Thank you so much for coming. Of course, we love being unstable. Adios.
Watermelon goblin size of King Kong. Watermelon goblin size of King Kong. Glasses shattering, million fractions on my face. I can't seem to put them back together in one place. Fractured on my fingers, swollen tongue is out of taste. Cut down all my trees, I'm catching monsters by the lake. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong.